happy Thanksgiving Recovery Day, everybody. Something fun today, just something light and, well, maybe not so light, but something fun anyway. There's this Twitter account, I don't know how to pronounce the name, Aella Girl, something like this. She has you have to look at the picture. It's on the blog. She has a poll. As of this recording, it's got, 80,000 votes. It's going to end sometime today, I think. I have the Twitter her original tweet on there so you can see it. And she's also done this kind of thing before, and I have a link to one of the older tweets too. And what the current one says is this. Imagine a circle laid flat on a table with a little spinner on it that you can flick, like in a kid's game. The circle is 80% red, 20% yellow, like a yellow pie slice. You flick the spinner, it spins, and how she writes this, it slowly stops. Where did it land? Now, like I say, in the older polls that she had and the current one, too, about 80% voted red, and the remaining, of course, voted yellow. Now, one commenter said this, quote, the poll results pretty closely matches the 80-20 probability of each result. Super cool, kind of a wisdom of crowds moment. Is this, though, this close match a wisdom of crowds, or is it something else? Well, that's what we're going to try to answer today. Now, a little background, a little pedantry here for your Friday Recovery Day. All probability is conditional. Now, given the premises about the spinner, the probability the spinner stops on red is indeed 80%, which everybody could see, making the probability of yellow 20%. Okay, the probability does not say which color the spinner stops at. It's only a probability, and it's nothing more than a probability. The probability can and does function as a prediction of the spinner. It says not which color is final, but it gives the chances, okay? So predictions, also called forecasts or scenarios, a lot of people use different words to try to evade the idea that they're making predictions with their models, but they're best put in terms of the full uncertainty warranted by the information supplied. And here, of course, the information supplied is trivial. To make a bet, which is at least what most voters did, is to take the prediction and turn it into some kind of action. All right? So the vote is not a probability. It's an action of some kind. Now, this action can be entirely counterfactual, as it is here, as is the probability. The probability is also a counterfactual. We don't need real things to have probability. Neither do we need real things to make statements of logic and so forth. So this is not about observables. This is about probability in its extended form, just like logic. All right. Of course, there's no circle. It won't be flicked, but we can imagine it. Now, let's be clear. Some people might not have been making a bet. They might have seen the close match in this poll and decided for fun to juice it along by voting for the color that had a deficit at the moment, or damage it by voting for the color that currently had an excess. And they can glean these excesses and deficits before they vote by the comments to the tweet, because there's very long discussions to all this kind of stuff, which you can read before you vote. We just don't know. Just as we can't know an infinite host of other possibilities. So because we don't have that information, we can't use it and shouldn't. So, excuse me, how did people make their vote or bet? One man said this, quote, I imagine it was actually a slice of lemon pie on a pan with a spinner. Since it stops slowly, I assume the spinner got stuck in the pie, so yellow. Others reported similar experiences. And the end, of course, was a close match between the frequency of bet and the deduced probabilities, which is what we might expect maybe if people were good at deducing probabilities in situations like this, which they obviously are. And this is the crucial point here, in which most or all have the same stake in the outcome. See, a bet is not a probability, and we have a stake in a bet. And here now everybody has the same stake in this outcome. This is very crucial. Everybody paid the same to vote. Everybody who wins, if they win, they're going to win the same amount. Everybody who loses is going to lose the same amount. And whether whatever would be won or lost is the same for all future prospects of all involved. What I mean by that is this: a billionaire and a humble blogger will win or lose more proportionally than each other on a money bet, which affects their future selves differently, of course. So even when both guess the same and have the same outcome, so people bet differently depending on their circumstances. But here, everybody has the same circumstances, and not only all this, everybody knows this. It sort of intuitively knows this, even if they don't think about it too much. Just as everybody knows they can safely bet because there's no real winners or losers, and thus no reason to crow or to receive trash talk or expect to receive trash talk and things like this. So what we really have here is a nice and sweet uniformity of the kind that you could only really find in textbook homework cases, but rarely, never in real life. And we have, of course, a simple, trivial deduction of probabilities. All right, that's the background on all the theory, if you like. Now, from all of that, we have to guess why people bet or voted the way they did, and in that proportion. That's our question. Why did people bet that way and in that proportion? Why this coincidence? Now, we have 2 experiments at least, and their details. She has an older tweet. I guess she's done it at least once before, perhaps twice or more. We also have the comment. And each time that she did this little experiment, it turned out to be about the same. Not identically the same, about the same. And we have the comments of some of the participants, like the guy who did the yellow spin, and I think we could take him at his word, because his experience was similar to many other people. Now, we also have my experience and yours. I voted red because red's the most likely outcome. Many surely did just as I did, but why didn't everybody? Why, in other words, did 20% choose the less likely outcome when that 80% is the probability optimal bet? Now, a similar, but not equivalent, but similar question is, why do people at casinos bet less likely outcomes when more likely options are available? And I got a list showing the odds of all the standard casino bets. Some are very low, and some are quite high. So the probability of winning is what this shows, and some of the probabilities of winning are not very high. Well, I guess it shows the opposite of the odds. Anyway, it's there, so you can see. Like for instance. It's not exactly the same situation comparing these casino things. Before I get to that, it's not exactly the same situation comparing the casino bets to this counterfactual bet of ours, because we have real bet sizes, we have real money, we have real situations and all that kind of stuff. But it's not an entirely different situation either. People, here we're back to that table that somebody did all the odds on. People on average bet slots far more than they bet blackjack, when blackjack, of course, has far better odds than slots. So why isn't everybody going over to the blackjack table if they really want to win? Well, obviously, some of this has to do with desiring to be left alone. You're sitting at the machine versus those who like to bet with people. You got to have a dealer with the blackjack. Or you're also betting with a crowd of people, and all are sharing the same deck of cards. Some just like to press the buttons, and I don't even know if there's any more of those. I haven't been in a casino in a while, but the old time, I don't think they even have money coming out of these slots anymore. Pull the handle on the what do you call it, the slot machine. And and of course, too, the bet size on a slot machine, I don't know what it is anymore, but they would even have penny slots back in the old days. Literal pennies you put in there, and so that's a very low level entry, even though you don't have a very good chance of winning. As opposed to a blackjack table where I don't know what the minimum bet on most places are, but it's going to be at least $5-10 or more. So that influences things. Okay. So even bets, though, that are more equivalent in terms of style of play. So, for instance, just playing card games where you have a blackjack-like situation where everybody's sharing the decks, and you have a dealer and there's teams and so forth, versus any kind of electronic machine. Not everybody flocks to the best bets even still. Why not? Because these kind of tables, like I show, they're widely available. You can get them anywhere, and anybody can pull them up on their phone in a second to see what the odds are. Since money's involved, though, we have to always be cautious with this evidence. And it's difficult to find this evidence too. I've looked into this. I looked at. I hate to use the word, but God help me, research, and trying to find stats on frequencies of bets by their known probabilities or odds. It's almost impossible. I couldn't find much. They have a lot of stuff on hot hands and gambler's fallacy and all these kinds of things, but casinos don't appear to keep track of the precise numbers of bets made in these non-electronic games, which they need. They have lots of information on slot machines, but you don't get that information. So I have a picture on the blog. You have to go to the blog to see what I think is happening with the human psychology here, and that's what we're talking about. We're trying to come up with a model, a theory, a guess of why people bet the way they did. Not about probability, that's trivial, and not about the betting psychology, the money payoffs involved, the cost, loss, all that kind of stuff involved with the bet, because that's all well deduced. So we want to know, why did some people pick this yellow, and why did that near match of the probability of the minority bet match the frequency of people who bet that yellow? Now, there's a what I have is a cartoon graph. It's just a cartoon of my guess. On the x-axis is the minority probability from 0, 10, 20, up to 50%. All right, so that's the deduced probability that we know. In this case, we know that the minority probability is 20%. On the y-axis is the observed frequency of betting. So the number of people who chose the minority out of the total number of people who bet. In this case, it's about a close match. All right, so it's near 20% minority probability and about 20% frequency, observed frequency. So I have a dot right at that 2020 point. And it's my guess, too, that when the minority probability is 50%, that 50% of the people I'm thinking would also bet 50%. Unless, of course, they have the 50%. One of the 50% is some hated thing or well-beloved thing. I don't know, Snoopy versus a, what do you call them? Animals that are always eating children, the dogs. I can't remember the name of the dog. Doesn't matter. You get the idea. So you could have a picture, you could have a political picture. You could have the most popular, politician, the least popular politician, that kind of stuff. So I'm not counting those kind of things. I'm thinking about neutral types of bets, like the red, yellow kind of a thing. So at 50-50, at 50 minority probability, I'm guessing there would be about a 50% observed frequency. But here's the thing. Now, if I look at lottery probabilities, look at the Powerball, the proportion, the frequency of people who make that bet is much larger than the number, than the probability of winning. And that's the case even when the jackpot is relatively small, just when it starts off anew after someone's won. All right. So that kind of tells us, that's some hint anyway. There's money involved in the lottery bet, so we can't discount the money and so forth. But my guess is, as the smaller the minority probability gets, from 20%, which we had, to 10%, to 1%, to 1,000th of a percent, to 10,000ths, the frequency of observed bettors is going to tail off to something between, 1 and 5%. That's just a guess. So, in other words, this 80-20, the matching, the 20-20 matching is not going to be seen, I say, in bets that differ much from this 20-20 split. And I think, too, that people above some point, maybe it's 20%, maybe it's 30% or 40%, I don't know what, but I think that more people will bet a higher, closer to 50 than the deduced minority probability. So, for instance, if the minority probability is 45%, maybe we'll see closer to 50% take that bet. All right. I don't know exactly what the switchover point happens. It could be 30%, it could be 33%, something like this. I don't know. But that's my guess of what's happening. I think, why did we get the exact, or not exact, it's only a close match. So why did we get that here at 20? Well, maybe it's something like a Pareto principle for non-consequential bets, the old 80-20 rule you've heard about so much. Now, my guess, my theory, or anything is easy to check. Anybody can check this. I can't do it myself now that I've known to give out this theory, because if you know this theory, you can monkey with the results too easily. But other people, as long as they don't know the Aella, I don't know how to pronounce her name, a girl, as long as they don't know of her original tweet, why then, and they don't know of my theory about all this kind of stuff, then we might get a pretty good experiment of this. And I welcome anybody to try this if they have a Twitter account or a Facebook account. I don't even know if Facebook does polls or anywhere else like this. And let's see if we're right about this. That's it for today, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.